You're listening to WKDW Radio 97.5 and KDWRadio.com, broadcasting from the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower right here in Northport, Florida. It is absolutely gorgeous out here right now. I did break out the motorcycle and get out on the bike a little bit this afternoon. I want to tell you it's Friday. I want you to be careful on the way home. Take care of your loved ones and the loved ones around you by slowing down. And let's not have any major accidents on the way home tonight. An extra 5 minutes on the road never hurts anybody, and it definitely saves lives if you just slow down. Um, I didn't go out on 75, but I'll promise you it's Friday, and they are going to be doing 110 out there. If you could knock it under 100, and you guys doing 90, keep it under 90. That would be awesome. But you slow pokes, get to the curb lane. Do not ride the center. Do not ride the middle. That's going to be a disaster waiting to happen. I will tell you that for sure. But you guys, I've got two very special guests in the house today, and our topic today is a really hot topic that is always a hot topic for every citizen of Northport and any community across the country, and that is taxes and what's happening with taxes. And I'm going to start out by sliding this over to Carmine, but I want to let Peter introduce himself and Carmine introduce himself first.
Hi, Peter Bartolotta. I'm here every, the fourth Friday of the month?
Yep.
So always good to be on the show, John.
Thank you, sir. Carmine?
And I'm Carmine Miranda, and I'm happy to be here with you gentlemen. And, I'm a frequent visitor to the show, but not every end of the month Friday, like Peter.
And so you put you put quite a presentation together for citizens of Northport, and I want you to first off, before you get dive into that, I want you to tell people your approach to putting that data together.
Okay. Well, I'm not on Facebook, so I didn't see a lot of the comments. But I happened to be on Nextdoor, for my community, and I saw a post where people were getting upset about, the assessment letters that the city was mailing out, and there were a total of 3 of them. And the minute I seen that, I happened to go out to the mailbox, and lo and behold, they were out there for me to look at. And so the first thing that I do is, okay, this is new. I read it. And then I look at, okay, what did I pay last year? That's the first thing I asked myself. So I went and I pulled out last year's tax bill and then looked at what they were proposing for this year. And so, with all of the comments that were being made on Nextdoor, and with me actually going out and looking, I'm actually down in my non-ad valorem taxes about $51 with this proposed assessment. So I just wanted to do something. So I wrote a post on Nextdoor telling people not to panic and do what I did. Go out to your last year's tax bill, your original tax bill, and then look at the proposed tax bill and look at these assessments and look at it and get an understanding. And then I also added a little bit of, things that I heard, because I do attend a lot of the meetings, whether it's at the city chambers or whether it's watching a video of YouTube, watching it, live. And I did hear, Chief Titus talk about the fire and rescue. I did hear other folks in utilities and whatnot talk about, what their methodology was. So I figured, let me share that and take some of the stress off of some of the residents who were getting a little anxious with the fact that, hey, it's going to be $400 more a year, and with inflation, I can't afford it. So that's my motive for doing that, was to try to calm people's fears. And then my wife said, "Are you going to write an op-ed?" And I said, "I've been thinking about it," and then finally I did, and we put it out to. I'm with Northport Forward, so we put it out to Northport Forward's mailing list, so that another bunch of people can actually see it and hopefully they'll spread the word and reduce some of the anxiety that's going around. That was my intent.
And so, I think the first thing I want us to all talk about is that the taxes themselves. We have a millage rate that everyone talks about, but our millage rate is really low considering where it's at within the surrounding areas that we live. Would everybody agree on that?
I certainly agree with that, and you have the chart up that was actually taken from one of the United tours where the city manager spoke about where we are as a city and where our tax millage rate is, and they also included in this chart a public service tax for water and for electric. And as you can see, Northport is the second on the list with the second lowest millage rate, and we have zero tax for the water, and we only have 6% for the electric. Now that's changed this year; that's up to 10, and I think the water has gone up as well, but the millage rate has stayed the same. And so, compared to Sarasota, Punta Gorda, Bradenton, Palmetto, Homestead,
Venice,
Coconut Creek, some of those are up to almost 6.5% millage rate, 6.4. So we're not bad at all. And let's face it, look, nobody likes to pay taxes. But if you're getting the services and we have a wonderful city that we live in and things are getting done, you don't mind paying taxes. I mean, there's two things that are guaranteed, and one is death and the other is taxes. But if we're getting the services that we're paying for, you don't mind paying taxes.
Yeah, Peter, we've had these discussions now for months and months and months on the commercial side of things, and the importance of what the listeners now need to hear based on keeping the millage rate down and knowing where we live. There is a true fear being put out there that we need more commercial properties. Would you call that a fear, or would you call that reality?
That we need more commercial property? That's a reality. When I talk to people about economic development, and if you don't know me, I'm very much in favor of economic development. And when the way I describe it to people, because when you say economic development, everybody has their own perception of it. I don't want smokestacks. I don't want cavern cities. I don't want all that business coming in. And I explain it to them this way. Would you agree that the cost of living goes up every year? And most people will say yes. Would it make sense that the cost of government would go up by that amount or
more?
And the answer is yes. My question then is, who do you want to have pay for it, you or somebody else? And everybody says somebody else. And I say that's economic development. That somebody else could be a gated community that builds nothing but $10 million homes. So when you look at the ad valorem, that's what, $3.76 per $1,000 of assessed value of your home. So the higher the value of the home, the more tax you get from it, right?
Right.
Well, that's a form of economic development. The downside of that is it stays at that level. Homestead exemption doesn't allow it to increase by very much every year once you've established yourself in homestead. So we have to have other ways of taxing or other individuals to tax. And typically that is the business. I think the business can't go up more than 10% a year. You might know that better than me, John. But it's a higher amount. And so businesses do get taxed a lot higher. One clarification I would make on the chart you have up, when you look at water, Northport pays nothing, Longboat Key pays nothing. I think that's because we have our own water department. our own utilities. So I don't think the government can tax you on what they're already charging you for. If I'm not mistaken, Punta Gorda, as an example, buys its water from the Charlotte County Water District. So they're buying it from the county, and they're not buying it, but the county is billing the consumer, and then the city puts an extra 10% tax on, like they do with the electric, where you see the 6% and the 10%. So I think that's the reason it's zero. We do supply our own water. But yeah, we need more land, and the problem is most of our large chunks of land are gone. The good news, I had a great lunch today with, I have to look at my notes here, with Vinny Mascarenas. Did I pronounce that right, Carmine?
Yes.
Good. Okay. And Vinny is the economic development manager for Northport. And I'll tell you, after lunch, I came away pretty excited. She's got her head screwed on right. She's got a great background. I think she's doing the right things, trying to define economic development in these trying times with limited real estate. She's talking to the right people. So my confidence has gone up quite a bit after speaking with her. And I think it would be good, John, have her on the show. She's a very, very sharp lady.
Fantastic. And I look forward to having her on. I know that that's going to happen.
Good.
Hey, John, can I just add one thing to
Sure.
what Peter stated about, commercial and residential? Residential requires a certain amount of services from the city. And they actually require more services than what's actually taken in revenue, in tax revenue. And commercial doesn't require the exact amount as residential. So we would be better off having more commercial. And also the other side of that is bringing some skilled jobs here for the residents so they don't have to leave the city every day.
And those are all good points. The importance for that across the board, though, is to keep the home taxes down. The more that we, and I think I really want to point out to everyone that I've had some really good interaction with a lot of groups this week, online, per phone calls, and I will say that people are trying to figure out where to get their information. I want to send a warning shot out. Warning shots are meant for one reason only. When you go to me, my source, this show, and you count this as the only source of information, I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to count on me to be the supplier of how you should think, what you should do, where you should turn to. We have lost a lot in social media today with the ability to look and read online and post a question and see how many answers we can get. And then we never do any of our own homework to figure out exactly what's happening. And when it comes to taxes, yes, while there's a good group like Carmine's Northport Forward that does all of this independently from itself, it doesn't matter where he stands. He can get accused of favoring one side, even though his approach is different. Well, that pile of information that you're getting should be your starting point for your own investigation and your own involvement in your city. And this show is really about real talk, getting the information to you so you and your neighbors can actually go at it and get something done collaboratively. And we have to do this sometimes as a group and sometimes as individuals. We have got to take the bull by the horn and say we've got to find our own information. But these are good starting blocks to build your questions upon. And then I would highly suggest any questions that you have, you direct them to the key sources. You don't count on Facebook interactions to be your tell-all, be-all. And if any of these groups out there are shutting people down or doing anything like that, shame on them. But at the same time, there's such a thing as being civil with each other. So keep the civilness, but arm yourself with information that is accurate and that you feel confident in, but take a lot of the information that we're supplying today and in other shows and build your arsenal from that. Do you guys both agree with that?
I certainly do. And to add to that, I feel that, I moved here 10 years ago with my wife, and we bought a home here in Northport. We made a major investment. They say the home is one of the biggest investments you can make.
It is.
And I look at it that I want to know how my money is being spent in the city. And, am I going to be in trouble later on because I've planned for retirement? I've done the things that I was supposed to do all through those years, working and putting money away for retirement, for one day to hopefully be comfortable. And so I have a vested interest in what I want to pass along to the viewers, and what we pass along to the folks who come to the Northport Forward meetings and the meetings that we've been having, the United Tours with the city, is to educate them to be able to feel comfortable enough to get involved, to ask questions, to learn about, where they live, where their major investment is, and, to know how is the city managing the city? How is the city managing their money? So that there's no surprises, a year down the road, 2 years down the road, so on and so forth. So that's my take on it.
Peter, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would agree on your comments about, watch what you read on social media. I think our city is extremely open, where the information is there. And if it's not there, there's somebody you can call, from the city manager to a city commissioner, and you'll get it. My concern on the taxes is that we've kicked the ball down the road so many times that this commission is now finally taking the bull by the horn, so to speak, and trying to do what needs to be done, what should have been done 10 years ago. And those costs are going to be higher. So, we may wind up at some time in the near future with that ad valorem tax going up. And that can happen. Make sure that when you vote, and we are going into it, the election cycle is going to be starting pretty soon. It started on the national level. It will be starting on the local level, certainly no later than January, if not sooner. Look for, there's 2 commission seats open. So look for commissioners that have an experience in managing, a multi-$100 million budget, or at least a $50 or $60 million budget. Look for people that have experience in management and that understand the commission's job is to let the city manager do his job according to the direction they've given. It's not to do the job for the city manager. If the city manager is not doing the job, then the city commission just fires him and gets another one. But I think Jerome is doing a pretty good job right now. And look for quality people. I mean, I've seen this. I've been here since 1993, and I've seen this city take 3 steps forward and 5 back. So I don't want to see that happen right now. We are on a good trajectory. I'd like to keep it that way. And this election cycle is going to be critical when you look at the candidates that have to come up. And anybody out there that wants to serve the community, a city commission job can be a very rewarding job. You have an opportunity to build a city, which is the process we're in right now. So, if you want to call me or call John or call Carmine, we can give you some skinny on what's involved with that job, and but give it consideration. If you think you're qualified, we'll let you know.
The other thing I want to do is something I haven't done in the past, but the likes. I want to mention food trucks in and around Northport. I love the fact that group liked my page and liked the comments that are happening right now, and the fact that I eat out at our food trucks often. I love the fact that the food trucks are in Northport. They're active, and it's a great business opportunity. Savor is one of my favorites to talk about because he took his food truck and went to a brick and mortar now off of Toledo Blades. So, these are great startup opportunities for a lot of these guys. And if you see a food truck out there, give them a shot, because I got to tell you, some of the food is amazing. So thanks for liking the comments. And these guys are all about keeping tax dollars down, because any business owner that's out there is a little worried at this point of what's coming if taxes go up, because anytime that a community gets ridden on taxes, expenditure out gets cut a lot of times. So these businesses that we talk about, or their lack of in Northport, think of it that way. We're putting a lot of stress on the businesses that are here if our tax rates go out of control, because it will cut their visit down. So I've looked at this, I've had these conversations, but as far as I can see, higher taxes don't necessarily mean a successful city. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, the ad valorem is designed, the city comes up with a budget, and that budget expects X amount of expense. And they then look at the ad valorem and make sure that there's enough revenue coming in based on the property appraiser's values that they're given to cover those expenses. If they don't cover the expenses and those expenses are, not negotiable, then you get a raise in tax. That's how it happens. It's not like the city's trying to make a profit, because they can't. They're not allowed to.
Right. And Carmine, the study that you put together, how can people get that information so that at least they're armed with the data that you've collected?
When you say the data that I've collected, is it this particular chart? Is this chart that you're showing is from the city? The city put this together.
Correct.
The op-ed that I put together literally came from these notes that we received, these assessment letters, also from last year's tax bill, and from conversations that I've heard through the meetings and the workshops that have taken place at the city. So, getting to know what's going on in the city, getting involved. It doesn't have to eat up a lot of your time, but you should get involved, and you should align yourself with people who, have their ear on the pulse of what's going on in the city, so that you can get factual information. And that's what we try to do with Northport Forward. We are not responsible for the information, but what we try to do is bring community together. We try to build community one person at a time. And, in this modern age of technology for communication, which has been, riddled with misinformation and division and disinformation, what we try to do is go back to basics, go back to a time where we were able to look each other in the eye and have a conversation, and use the social cues to know that, who we're talking to, what they're saying, that they're being open, that they're being honest with us, and that, we can work together to create different ideas, to learn about what other people are thinking, so that, we have a better understanding and we can actually solve problems. That's what we used to do. But what's actually happened with disinformation and misinformation, people are behind a keyboard or on their phone, and they hear these different things, and we're being divided. And in essence, what winds up happening is they form an opinion about something. They pick a side on an array of issues. And the minute you say something that doesn't quite align with what their opinion is, then that's when you get cut off. That's when you're called a name. And that's when, there's no progress. There's no conversation to try to understand each other's position. It's just cut and dry. And we cannot continue to do that. And, they're talking about AI as well. Okay. AI is only going to magnify the disinformation and misinformation, because to make AI work, you need to load down different things into the computer so that it can respond to certain things. But if you're loading down the biases and the misinformation, you're going to get that in a much more rapid and a much more intense way that it's just going to progressively get worse and worse. So what we try to do is, let's bring people together. Let's have a conversation face to face. Let's talk facts, no politics, okay? And let's try and put our thoughts out there. Let's say what our concerns are, and let's try to do the right thing to move this city forward. And the city is open to that. I've said this in the past. They've got more information out there on several different venues to try to invite people to become involved, because they want to hear from us. And that's the purpose of these assessment hearings. There's a meeting on September 7th at 5:01 p.m. at City Hall to talk about these assessments, and it gives the people an opportunity to voice their opinion and to get questions answered. And some of them will learn what we try to tell them in the op-ed about where to look and how this is going to work, and the methodology behind it. So yeah, that's our purpose. And I think that it behooves all of us to, let's all work together. We shouldn't be in competition with each other. And when it comes to a major purchase that we've made here to live here, we should have a vested interest in what our city government is doing.
And I'm gonna ask both of you this question. I'll start out with Peter. My experience and my experience for other residents, when I need something, our commissioners, don't care which one, our commissioners answer emails, answer phone calls. They get back to us. City manager does the same thing. Staff is doing the same thing. So anytime, in my belief, anytime that you have someone out there talking about they don't communicate, the communication side of it has to start with someone first. And it usually has to be the citizen. And I say that for good reason. The citizen has to be engaged enough with the conversation in order to ask a question, and our commissioners are readily and willing to answer them. Peter, do you feel like we have access as citizens, everyday working class citizens? Do we have access to our city government officials?
Absolutely. And staff. They always get back to me.
Carmine, you feel the same way?
I feel the same way. Like Farmers Insurance, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Well, we've done 6 meet and mingles last year, and we've done 5 of the United Tours with the city manager, with all of the commissioners present, and with also the staff. And they're all there happily to be there after working long hours in meetings all day long. And they're happy to be there, and they answer questions, and they mingle with the people. And that's what we try to do, is get to know who your city officials are, and get to know they'll hand you the business card. If you have a question, give them a call. Jerome always talks about, on one of his slides, here is my cell phone number. If you have a problem, don't call the number, text me, and I'll either answer it myself or I will connect you to somebody who will get you information. And we didn't have that 2.5, 3 years ago with a different city manager and a different commission. And, they're here to help. So, yeah, I think that they're very accessible. I think that, Peter had lunch with Vinny today. I've met Vinny. I think she's doing a hell of a job. I see information out on LinkedIn. I see information out on Facebook. I see information out on Nextdoor and all of the social media sites that can be out there. So they're looking to get the message out. They want the feedback from the people. So yeah, they're definitely accessible.
I'm going to ask you both this. And as far as trying in a city that doesn't have really a other than our community radio station. We don't have a TV network. We don't really have a radio station that's a commercialized radio station. We are truly community driven at WKDW Radio, and we are bringing the source of conversation with commissioners, with city manager, with staff. Every week we have people on discussing topics, hot topics. And if you have a hot topic, bring it. I want to give an example though of what I went through in the last 24 hours, because I had a friend who had an issue and has had it for a while, but they finally called who? Me. Within 10 minutes, I had a commissioner, had the conversation, and this morning, the problem was gone. Less than 24 hours to get a problem rectified, that the citizen was throwing their hands in the air going, I need some help. No, they needed guidance. There's a difference between frustration and throwing your hands in the air and telling everybody about it and asking for help, getting great guidance, and then conquering the problem.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, we have a group of people right now, whether you agree or disagree with their philosophies, whether you agree or disagree with their votes, we have a core group of people. And when I say core group, it's almost every employee at City Hall. Everyone is trying to do their best to help get information out with clarity. Whether you like the information you get, that's a totally different thing. And I kind of have to chuckle about it because we've had these conversations in the past. Correcting the misinformation sometimes, and maybe that's a strong word. Misinformation can be a strong word. So I'm going to back it off just a tad, and I'm not going to call it misinformation. Believing in what someone else believes without doing any of your own homework could be a mistake, because they believe what they believe and you're going to believe what you believe. That's the difference in what I believe we all, as good, solid citizens, should aspire to be. I don't want to influence you. I want you to do your own damn homework. I want you to go process all this information. I also want to help you. Help is a big key to this whole thing. There are groups and people out there that legitimately, like Northport Forward, that legitimately want to help. There are these meetings out in the public. We had meetings over our taxes going up. And oh, by the way, I don't care how many meetings you have when your average attendee is 2, and we're 80,000+ people in our city. Obviously, you don't have a major problem with the taxes. And I did take those phone calls, and I know you've had conversations too. The phone calls then were, yeah, but they don't listen. Well, okay, but you weren't in the room. You didn't even go. So it's like saying I don't vote, but I have a right to bitch. Well, you do, but bitch at home, because I don't want to hear you because you didn't vote. If you didn't go to those meetings and talk about your taxes, what's the importance? Peter, what is the importance for people actually getting involved?
Yeah, to your point, you may disagree with the answer you get, but it doesn't mean they're not listening to you. I mean, the answer, what you're going to get is the truth as they know it. At least that's been my experience. You have an opportunity to have a dialogue with them and give them your position, your opinion, and ask them, what do we have to do to change that? And then get involved to make changes, because, and I get upset with people that call me and say, I complained to the city about something and they didn't do anything. Well, what did you want them to do? They complain that, I had my 5th garbage pickup and they're charging me. Well, you only get 2. Well, why don't I get more? Because the rule is 2. That's what you get. After that, you pay for it. Well, it shouldn't be that way. Well, don't talk to me. Talk to the person in the city that you talk to and talk to them about what do we have to do to change that. And that's how you get involved. You know, I find a good rule of thumb is if you're on a website where everybody agrees with you, find another website to get another balance, to get another view. I love talking to people that disagree with me because I learned something. I'm not going to learn by talking to the people who agree with everything I say and have the same views as me. I don't learn anything. I don't grow. If you're a Democrat or a Republican, talk to the other party. Talk to people in the other party. You know, we've divided ourselves as a country. I hope that's not coming down at the local level, although I think it is at least filtering itself in. But find other websites. I can tell you right now, the Northport Forward is a great website to get educated on things. They don't have an opinion. They don't share their opinion. They don't post their opinion, but they tell you what it is. And then you deal with it from there. If you go on Facebook and go to North P.O.R.T. on Facebook, that's another website where people are presenting, you know, discussions, but they're not negative in the sense of attacking people. If they are, they'll throw you off the site. They're just a way to get information and share information. So my suggestion is get involved that way to start, because it's not taking you any more time than it is right now when you're on these websites. The other way is to go to these meetings that Carmine and his team have been putting together. They're outstanding. And, you know, I went to one where Jerome got really attacked by, there must have been, 100 people in that room?
Yeah.
And half of them were going after him, and he stood his ground. He gave you the answers, and everybody left as friends. And that's the way it should be. You don't have to agree with everything, but learn what it is. And whenever you can, go to the source. You know, I was real disappointed for those of you that watched the, I don't want to get political, but if you watched the debate this week, you know, when I went to my guide on my TV, it said, you know, it was on Fox, the Republican debate, and it was on CNN. And when I turned CNN on, it was on. And then when I went back to it, it was off in the middle of the debate. They just stopped playing it. Well, that's not, if that's happening, you're not getting the whole story. You have an opportunity to see people in action. And when you see people in action, it means something different. When you go to these events that Carmine puts on, you see the city manager standing up there. You see the police chief there. You see the fire chief there. You see staff members. Almost every director of every department in the city is there. If you've got an issue, the source is within arm's reach.
Absolutely.
And what an opportunity. And what is it, Carmine? An hour and a half, maybe?
Yeah.
They're quick meetings, but super educational. And the best part of the meeting is what happens after. You go up and you talk to these directors. It's your choice, folks.
Finding out information is the key. And I'm going to slide this over to Carmine, but you know, a couple things that we're kind of hitting on in totality is that we want citizens to engage. We want citizens to accept information, and then we want them to expand their knowledge of that information if they have questions based upon what you're giving, or if they have questions about the data that you're providing. That I get a little confused a lot of times when you hand people information and their first clue to getting information from somebody is not looking at it because they've already formed their opinion. Well, based on what? How are we going to talk if we never share that information back and forth? Because you have an opinion is all right. I'm not questioning your opinion, but you're basing your opinion. Are you basing that on data, or are you basing that on a belief? Or how are you going to pull one of us over with your information on your belief. We're, right now, we got no questions popping up for anybody. But here's the funny thing. We've got 2 Facebook pages given. We've got data out there. We've got a tax issue that everyone seems to get fired up this time of year about. And we got nobody bitching, because they're not bitching on here. They're not bitching out there. But then when you go to hand them good quality information, they don't believe it. Why? Because it's printed.
Something else I'll say, because there's a lot of people who have opinions of me. And one of them is that I'm very influential. Okay. And I'm going to tell you a secret. I'm going to admit it on air, and it'll be on a video, so it'll be here forever. I don't have squat. I don't have more land than anybody. I own a house with a mortgage. The bank owns it. Okay. I have my car. I mean, that's it. And yet I have spoken to city managers, county administrators, city commissioners, county commissioners, state senators, state assemblymen, U.S. congressmen, U.S. senators, business titans. And how did I do it? That's it. I picked up the phone and I called them. Guess what? Sometimes they answer. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they return the call. Sometimes they don't. But you want to get the answer from the horse's mouth. You can do it. There's nothing special. They don't answer because they say, oh, it's Peter calling. Now, they don't know me from a hole in the wall. Okay. And sometimes you get lucky and you talk. And I'll tell you something else. I've made the greatest friends through that process, where I found people that were like-minded, and we talk, and we still talk to this day. But there's no special, it's just pick up the phone and call.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing: if you at the city and county level, I think they're very responsive. I think at the state level, you call your state representative, you call your state senator, they'll get back to you. They'll have lunch with you. You can meet them in their office. It's amazing, folks. It's amazing.
You just have to reach out, and you just have to meet them halfway.
You don't have to meet them halfway. Yeah. Just whatever you're doing, just meet them. So, and that turned into lunches, and that turned into going to events with. So it turns out sometimes it blossoms, sometimes it's just a contact. But I had an issue with the state, with the Sun Pass, and I called my state senator. I know him, and he answered the phone. He didn't know me before I reached out years ago. I did this, but it's nice to have that contact. There's nothing special about people that do this. Nothing special about John. Nothing special about Carmen. Am I right, guys?
Yeah.
And yet you can make that phone call and they answer it.
Yeah. You just have to
it doesn't start with them.
Yeah. Have to get out there and put yourself out there. That's basically it. And unfortunately, there are studies that are going on that are saying that the social graces are lacking, the social cues, that we are not able to talk to one another because more and more people are behind keyboards and more people are on their phones. And so that's the purpose too of what we try to do, is get people in front of each other and make it comfortable. There's no question that's a stupid question. There
are stupid answers, though. There are stupid answers.
there certainly can be, but what we try to shoot for is, like you say, get right to the horse's mouth, get the factual information, stay away from the political side of things. Let's work together. Let's make it comfortable for you to ask a question, and everybody's approachable, like you said. That's what we're seeing with the city. Every one of the folks there, they're some of them are residents here in Northport. A lot of them are. A lot of them, put the time in, 12 hours a day, and they're happy to talk to you. They're happy to shake your hand, and they're happy to answer a question. So you just have to put yourself out there. That's all it takes.
Good.
You know, I got asked to participate and bring my broker in for a conversation with the mayor and Mayor Langdon, and I just that conversation you just gave. That's what's really cool is I didn't think about it until you just said all that, Peter. Is that we were in the office, we were discussing affordable housing, we're doing all these things. I didn't think twice about the access. I go to City Hall, I do what I need to do. I have my ends. I don't think twice about it because I've built the most important thing that any citizen can do in a town, and that's build relationships, build friendships. They put their pants on the same way. They drink beer with you. They'll do all these things. Here's the funny thing. I took my broker in. He took selfies of himself in the office. He thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
He was sitting in the mayor's office because he doesn't get the chance to do that.
You know,
It's kind of cool when you look at it and you break it down, though.
Yep.
Every citizen here can do that.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Peter.
We just got a post there. I wanted to respond to Commissioner Emmerich. Pete's a great guy, great commissioner. And I hope you didn't misunderstand what I was saying there, Pete. It was the past, not the current. You guys are doing an outstanding job not to quit kicking the can down the road. But what he's saying is so sad. So many negative people get up. And if you want to see negativity at its finest, go to a commission meeting or watch it and watch some of the people that stand up and criticize the commissioners, call them names, tell them we're going to run against you, tell them don't look somewhere else. I mean, they just go off not one of them, not one that I've heard has ever come in and said, I've got a possible solution.
Yeah.
You know, so what these commissioners get hit with day in and day out is negativity. And it's a shame because it wears them down, and you can only take so much, and it wears you down. If you want the best, treat the commissioners the best. Talk to them. Find out what it is. What are the roadblocks? What can I do to help? You know, I hate to quote John F. Kennedy, but ask not what the country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Same with the city. You know, little things. Little tiny things. They might say, hey, I appreciate that. Would you call your friend next door and ask him to send me to come down with you to a meeting? Or can I come to your house? I'll sit down and talk to a group of people. You know, there's so much you can do that takes virtually no time. Now, you may have to give up a TV show. I admit there are some things that you may have to give up. But you don't have to be, you know, an activist. You can be a participant and get to know these people. They are awesome. We've got a great commission. Every single one of them have their heart in Northport. They deeply care about Northport. There may be different opinions of what we should do, but that's okay. But they care. And don't be one of those people that get up and do nothing but criticize. Come up with solutions. We've got people that get up and criticize. They run for office and then quit the job. You know, because it was so difficult, I guess. But don't be one of those. Be one of the positive participants. I'm sorry. Pete, you got me on a rampage there.
Yeah, that's all right. But couple things I want to add in here real quick because these are very important facts right now. And this is brought to you by Elaine Emmerich, our own Elaine Emmerich. Please remind people they only have a half hour to give their information to the county for the SRQ Resiliency Grant. The county has $201 million to give to people impacted by Hurricane Ian. Let's see. We'll go to this one. You must you must email the county from the SRQ page about why their home is still not in pre-hurricane condition. Okay. The other side of that is this is for people who have homeowners insurance and still have unmet needs. Okay, so keep that in mind. Get to SRQ, do your paperwork now, get your information in now. You have a very short time. And, this same thing happens. We're in hurricane season now. Reminders: if we have a hurricane, everyone file FEMA. Every single person file FEMA. I don't care if they tell you no 10 times. Stay in the game. It's designed to kick you out. I had shows on it last year. The resiliency side of things. Guess what? You have an opportunity to put your name in the hat. Get it in there. Just go do your homework and get it done. If you have friends out there right now that are in that situation, tell them now to go do it. You have a half hour to get that done. And Kathleen, you had a comment. She says, agree. It is so disgusting to hear citizens burn the commissioners and city manager. Cruel. I agree with you across the board. The thing is, most people who run for city offices, most people who are hired in to city offices, they work under the direction of others. City staff. I love my city staff, care about my city staff, and appreciate the city staff. Guess what? They're directed by others. Our city commission directs them to do certain things. You have to find out what's happening first and then make a good, sound decision on your approach. And it wouldn't hurt if you gathered momentum by gathering more people. Just because you throw around out there in this real world that I have a large following doesn't mean that everybody in your flock follows you. They don't all agree with you. And just because you have the power to eliminate their words, and trust me, after the week I've had, I now know that we have a lot of Facebook pages controlling narrative. They may claim they're not, but they're the first ones to promote the fear of removal. Now, I want you to think about that for just a second. Anytime that somebody has to fear maybe saying the wrong thing to you on your own Facebook page, you discard them. Well, who's censoring who? What information are you trying to get rid of? So we all need to be civil with each other. Just because you don't like the answer, you don't dislike the person. I've had conversations that this week that I thought people were calling me out. I think that I was calling them out. Misinterpretation across the board. What I hate is the fact that we're not helping each other get important information like the SRQ out in blasts. Right now, everyone listening should be getting to their friends and telling them they have a half hour to do this. And that's the most important part of being a solid community, and a solid community with the focus on helping our citizens move forward or sabotaging them with your idea of what information is. Don't do it. Let's change the narrative here. We got 80,000 people who are counting on us to move the narrative forward, and we've got to hear both sides of everything. And I did learn that this week. We got to learn both sides. Kathleen, another comment. I must admit, if Pete called me, I would answer the phone because I feel he is very influential. Peter Bartolotta, there you go. How about joining the Friends of Northport Library Board?
Give me a call, Kathleen.
There you go. So now isn't that the way things work? It's kind of a cool opportunity. This is truly been an engaging show. We're at 4 o'clock, and I'm going to sign off real quick on the air. This is John Rawlings with WKDW Radio 97.5 FM saying thanks. Enjoy your day. Be safe on the way home, and tune in
Bye-bye.
on Monday for another great show. And I'll sign off on Facebook here in a second.
Take care.
So, we're I want to lay this out, but I also want you, Carmine, I want you to give your information about the website here real quick.
You can reach us at northportforward.com, and our website has information on our members. It has events that are coming up. There are blogs of information out there, and also an opinion section where you'll find the latest op-ed about these assessments. And our goal is to reach out and literally bring the city together, building community one person at a time.
Peter, go ahead.
No, I pretty much said what I had to say. Just
You want to give the website again?
I'm sorry. I keep the faith, stay connected, go to the websites we've mentioned, and get involved. Make it a point between this broadcast and the next one to reach out and meet somebody new in government, and next month get online and tell us your experience.
And the
Awesome.
Northport website that you were talking about earlier.
It's Facebook. Go on Facebook and then look for North P.O.R.T. It's a Facebook page.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate everybody listening in, and check out the information. We've got a really cool show coming up on Monday with City Hall information coming out with Jason. I've also scheduled out the environmental department for next month. I'm looking forward to that. I know Robin is and Barbara Lockhart. They've been Barbara asked me to be on. I'm trying to figure all those things out. So if you guys are listening, we're trying to manage all these things and get these things situated the right way. But we are breaking down the walls. Trump's building them, and we're breaking them down. We're not protecting our borders anymore. We're going to break this thing wide open, and we're going to get communication going live and entertaining. If you've got a hot topic, text me 941-391-4663. If you've got a group out there that needs some information on or needs or feels like they need to be part of this show, 941-391-4663. You can get a hold of me anytime. Text me, call me, leave a message. If I don't answer, that means I'm with a customer. But I love the city, love our surrounding communities, and you guys have a blessed night, and we'll talk to you soon. This
Thanks.
is John Rawlings, KDW. Carmine, thank you. Peter Bartolotta, thank you.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having us.
Talk to you soon.